Hello and welcome to a new edition of Africa Today, and we start from Egypt. And the Minister of Foreign Affairs Badr Abdulati stressed the necessity to preserve Sudan's unity and territorial integrity, support its national institutions and reject establishment of any parallel entities. This came during a phone call with U.S. President's Senior Advisor for Arab and African Affairs, Mossad Boulos, where they discussed a number of issues of common interest. During the call, Abdulati also stressed the importance of launching a Sudanese political process to end the conflict. He affirmed Egypt's stance in support of maintaining the security and stability of the Horn of Africa region, considering it as a direct extension of the Egyptian national security, as well as rejecting any policies that would violate the sovereignty of states or jeopardize the stability of the region. The call also addressed the issues of water and the importance of respecting the rule of international law and avoiding any unilateral actions. And now we are joined over the phone by Dr. Ayman Ghoneim, Economic and Legal Advisor. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, Dr. Ayman. And back to our reports from the African continent, and Cairo expressed their keenness on expanding industrial partnerships across Africa. This came during a meeting by Minister of Industry Khalid Hashim. It was held with Dr. Yusri Al-Sharqawi, chairman of the Egyptian African Businessmen Association, over means of strengthening cooperation between Egypt and African countries. Here's the full story.
Industry Minister Khalid Hashim urged the Egyptian African Businessmen Association (EABA) to expand cooperation with Egyptian industrial companies operating in Africa. The EABA has operated in Egypt since 2019 and has more than 17 representatives across Africa. It provides services supporting economic leadership, digital transformation, and regional integration to 390 Egyptian firms and 22 specialized companies. Minister Hashim met with EABA Chairman Yusri Al-Sharqawi to discuss ways to improve and diversify partnerships between Egypt and other African countries. The discussions focused on supporting industrial and economic activities that benefit both sides, making better use of African resources to enhance Egypt's competitiveness, attract new investments, increase value-added production, and promote African products in global markets. The meeting comes as Egypt prepares to host the 33rd annual meetings of the African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, in New Alamein at the end of June. The meetings will focus on boosting intra-African trade, industrialization, investment, and reforming the global financial system.
We are joined over the phone by Dr. Ayman Ghoneim, economic and legal expert. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon, sir. So how do you see the importance of dialogue between Egypt and the United States to reach a political settlement to the crisis in Sudan?
Well, actually, the Egyptian diplomacy under the leadership of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi commands respect worldwide, because it's based on the quest for reaching peace. It tries to reach peaceful settlements for all the international problems. It calls for peaceful solutions on the one hand, and on the second hand, it also promotes international cooperation, deepening the economic cooperation and the cooperation between countries in different fields, whether economic, environmental, or political fields. It also promotes the non-interference in the internal or domestic affairs of other states, and it tries to build stable and strong relations with all the parties in the East and West. Regarding Sudan, of course, Egypt has a long historical relationships with Sudan. Both countries are considered to be the strategic depth and extension for each other. And Egypt has always been playing a stabilized role in Sudan, trying to reach peaceful solutions for the problems between North and South Sudan, or the internal problems in North Sudan. And it has been always calling for reaching peaceful solutions for such problems for the best interest of the Sudanese people.
So, Dr. Ayman, how would you list the social and economic impact of the prolonged conflict in Sudan on neighboring countries?
Actually, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has expressed in many occasions and many instances his opinion. And actually, the opinion of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi represents the sound of reason, the sound of peace, and the sound of reason in the international politics. Of course, the domestic problem and the internal conflict in Sudan has affected its economy. Actually, it has shattered the Sudanese economy, and it has led to a major refugees crisis in Sudan. And in Egypt, we have felt the heat of such crisis and such a problem by receiving many of our Sudanese brothers. Of course, they are welcome to come to Egypt at any time. It's their second country, but the economic impact has been so devastating because Sudan has always been a developing country. The Sudanese people could not make the perfect or the optimal use of their abundant natural resources. And Sudan is a very rich country in terms of its natural resources. It's very rich in the arable land. I think the arable land in Sudan is more than 20 million acres. And it's very rich in water. It's very rich in its human resources, and also in the qualified human resources. Sudan has long enjoyed superb educational institutions, whether high schools or universities. And during many periods, actually, the Sudanese calibers used to work abroad, especially in the Gulf area. So Sudan has all the prerequisites and all the requirements for achieving an economic development. Unfortunately, such requirements were hindered by the present conflict in Sudan, which we hope that it would end soon.
So, sir, what specific mechanisms do you believe can ensure national institutions remain the primary actors in any peace process under the current developments?
Well, actually, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has expressed such opinion in many occasions and many instances, that the solution to problems in Sudan and to similar problems would be reached by political dialogue, by peaceful settlements, and most importantly by inclusiveness, and by putting the best interest of the Sudanese people higher than the interest of individuals, and by a sense of altruism, a sense of patriotism, and putting the interest of the country more than the interest of individuals.
And how attainable is reaching a ceasefire or even sitting to the negotiating table by the warring parties in Sudan in the near future?
Well, in order to reach a solution in the near future, everybody has to go back to the sound of reason. Everybody has to understand that conflict will never solve any problem. We all remember the Lebanese civil war, for example. It lasted for more than 2 decades. But then the civil war, actually at that time, in the late 80s and early 90s, we discovered that it ruined the whole infrastructure of Lebanon at that time. And no party was able to win, no party was able to impose its views or its interests over the others. And therefore, at the end, we all had to sit together and reach a certain settlement and reach a certain balance of interest by which they can all attain their vital and viable interest while respecting and fulfilling the interests of others. And that's why President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi had always been calling for such peaceful settlements, for such inclusiveness, and for putting the interests of the people and the country above the interests of the individuals.
So, sir, with the civilian suffering mounting in Sudan, what mechanism can be placed to guarantee that aid is not obstructed?
Well, of course, the problem of reaching aid to the affected areas and the affected population, it's a very complicated issue actually, because many of the areas inside Sudan are touched by the civil war and by conflict, and it would be really hard for the aid workers and aid caravans to reach there. Of course, there are many solutions, but I believe that the long-lasting solution is to try to reach a certain peaceful settlement for the whole conflict. Because no matter how we reach temporary solutions, how we reach temporary or workaround solutions to reach the aid to the affected areas, again, these would be temporary solutions, and these areas can be again affected by the conflict and by the war, and can be again cut from the outside world, and the population can suffer severely. And that's why long-lasting peace and long-lasting settlement is the ultimate, most guaranteed way to start securing the population and reaching aid to them.
So, sir, with regards to Libya, which also topped the agenda of the talks between the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the U.S. President's advisor, how do you see reasons obstructing political settlements in the country?
Well, actually, one of the key words here in Sudan and many other places is to put the interest of the population and put the interest of the people and the country higher than the interest of the individual, and to prevent other foreign parties from interfering, and to try to lead the solution and to try to lead the negotiations to the local parties, while of course facilitating such solutions and trying to help the parties to bring together their point of view. But the process itself has to be left to the people and to the different parties, providing all the facilities to them.
I'd like to thank you, Dr. Ayman Ghoneim, economic and legal expert. Thank you for being with us. And back to our reports, and Congo's Ebola outbreak death toll rose to 100 out of 550 cases as the conflict in the country slows response. The outbreak is concentrated in Congo's eastern province of Ituri, which accounts for more than 90% of the cases. Details follow.
At least 100 people have died from Ebola less than a month after authorities declared an outbreak of the disease in eastern Congo. The grim toll came as officials intensify efforts to slow the disease discovered weeks late. Attacks on health workers from angry residents, skepticism among some locals, and armed conflict in hot spots continue to challenge efforts to stop the outbreak declared on May 15, which has been caused by a severe form of Ebola disease. Out of the 550 cases of the disease confirmed as of Sunday, there have been 101 deaths and 19 recoveries. The outbreak is concentrated in Congo's eastern province of Ituri, which accounts for more than 90% of the cases. Cases have also been recorded in the North Kivu and South Kivu provinces and has spread across the border to Uganda. The number of cases in Congo is believed to be higher because the outbreak was confirmed weeks late, and the contact tracing coverage rate, which has improved in 4%. The Ebola disease outbreak is caused by the rare Bundibugyo virus, which does not have an approved vaccine or treatment, unlike the Zaire virus, another name for the Ebola responsible for most of Congo's 16 outbreaks of the disease. The rapid increase in the number of cases is in part due to the scale-up of diagnostic capacities, enabling testing of the backlog of previously collected samples.
And the United States has denied entry to soccer referee Omar Abdel Artan, who had been expected to be the first Somali to officiate at a match in the World Cup. FIFA spokesperson said Artan would not be able to train and officiate at the World Cup, the latest edition of which kicks off on Thursday after he was allowed to enter the United States over the weekend. Details follow.
Omar Artan, who was said to be the first Somali to referee at the World Cup finals, has been dropped from the list of officials after he was denied entry to the U.S. Artan, the 2025 Confederation of African Football CAF Men's Referee of the Year, was barred from entering the country at Miami International Airport and is currently in Turkey. No reason for Artan's repatriation has been issued by the U.S. Immigration Authority, but Somalia is one of the several countries on a travel list introduced by President Donald Trump's administration. After speaking to the U.S. authorities, world governing body FIFA said Artan will miss the tournament. The statement said FIFA is not involved in host country immigration processes, including visa adjudications, and has been informed by authorities that Mr. Artan's status will not be changed at present. It said in line with previous FIFA events, the host government ultimately determines who receives a visa and who is admitted into the country. All on-pitch officials must stay at the base in Florida for training, preparation and security. It would therefore not be possible for Artan to stay outside the U.S. and only referee matches played in Canada or Mexico. A Somali embassy official in Nairobi said that Artan's diplomatic passport had been issued specifically to ease his travel after earlier visa difficulties.
And that we come to the end of today's edition of Africa Today. Thank you for watching.